What's up everybody, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at the 2024 BMW M2. This one's finished in black sapphire. MSRP is $64,800. Big shout out to Hendrick BMW Northlake for providing this new M2 for today's video. Take a look at their website, linked down below. Underneath the hood of the 2024 BMW M2, you're going to find the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder twin turbocharged motor. This is the S58, pumping out 453 horsepower with 406 pound-feet of torque. This car is either paired to an 8-speed automatic transmission or in this case a 6-speed manual. It's also a rear-wheel drive car weighing in around 3,800 pounds. This car also runs on a 13.7 gallon fuel tank, and you can expect 16 miles per gallon in the city with 24 out on the highway. With the manual, 0 to 60 can come in under 4 seconds, automatic is closer to 3.5 seconds, and then it'll top out at 177 miles an hour. Overall length is 180.3 inches with a wheelbase at 108.1. Width is 81.4 and height is 55.2 inches. Moving on to the exterior styling with the newest generation BMW M2, the black sapphire metallic paint is actually the only added option to this particular spec. Everything else is an included option. We have a nice set of LED headlights. You can see the blacked out housing, a little bit of silver accents throughout them. It leads very nicely to the new squared off grille. Still having that nice kidney shaped design. You can see all the black on them and then the M2 logo as well. Really sharp lines throughout the front end. All of your parking sensors as well. And then squared off designs for all the openings to provide all the cooling to all the radiators as well as the brake ducts. Overall, this is a cool looking car. Honestly, I love the way the new M2 looks. Got the BMW badge right in the center, and then a very smooth hood with some sharp, subtle lines throughout it. It's a pretty cool looking car. I like how modern it looks. You also have a staggered set of wheels with 19s up front, 20s in back. They're finished in a really nice gloss black color with a multi-spoke design wrapped in a Pilot Sport 4S tire. You also have a huge 6-piston brake caliper up front with a ventilated and drilled front rotor. You can see the nice wide fender arches up front and then super smooth body lines going through the side profile. You got a pretty aggressive side skirt as well, flush mounted door handles, and then body colored mirror caps with a nice winglet and then your LED turn signal. All black trim surrounding the windows with a sunroof up on top. And then for the overall side profile, I like the proportions. It's short and stubby, but you can see the width of all the fenders. It just really makes this car look like it's got a mini wide body. I love the design. You can see just how wide the rear ones are, and then I look at the 20s in back. You also get the ventilated and drilled rotors, very smooth. In back, you got a 3-dimensional design for these LED taillights, and then these massive square pieces, which is a little odd looking for the rear end of the bumper. You also have a nice quad exhaust with some sharp fins, M2 badge, a sleek trunk-mounted spoiler with your BMW logo, and overall, I think this style really comes together to make this a modern-looking sports car. Moving on to the key fob, we get unlock and lock as your BMW badge, trunk release, panic, and some cool M colors. Of course, you can leave the key fob in your pocket, and just by grabbing on the door handle, we can open it up. So this one has one of the standard interiors, so the black synthetic leather with all the blue contrast stitching. You can option for zero cost some fun colors on it, and then spend a couple $1,000s, more like $4 grand, for bucket seats that are carbon fiber. You're gonna see all black throughout the interior with just this black texture. It's a cool design here, some padding material for your armrest with nice contrast blue stitching. You have the BMW M colors inside, and then you can see your release handle, lock and unlock, memory seating, and then window controls and mirror controls. Storage down below with a trunk release button. M2 is written out on the door sill, and you have all your power controls with adjustable bolsters and lumbar support. You have a leg rest as well, and then a really cool stitching design for the pattern. Nice size bolsters in the bottom as well as on the back. And then you can see M2 written up on top with that cool logo. Nice interior overall, really good fit and finish. Then a black leather steering wheel. And then now inside the M2, keeping my foot on the clutch, we can go ahead and fire it up. Taking a look at the gauge cluster, you can see your speedometer on the left with fuel, RPM over on the right side with engine temperatures, and then your speed and gear right in the center. Now, if you go ahead and toggle this icon right here, you can scroll through all sorts of different items for the center screen. So nice to see just a few things that'll pop up like navigation. You can even get the map in the screen as well. All your different drive modes, which is a really good touch to see, and then all sorts of different vitals that are happening within the car, even a horsepower and torque gauge. Now on top of that, if we toggle through the M mode right here, this will go through a few different screens you can configure. If we go into the sport icon, gets you a little bit more aggressive design to it, which is a cool touch. And then the drive modes itself, you can easily toggle this and change them. You can see them on the screen going back and forth. However, on the screen, of course, you can further adjust them. On the steering wheel, you have some nice leather type material for the airbag cover with your M logo. Cruise control settings are on the left side. Some Bluetooth and audio are on the right. Of course, your M1 and M2, which are configurable drive modes, which is a great touch to see. We have the stock on the left side for your turn signals, and then you can toggle this BC icon. It'll scroll through a few things up on the gauge cluster as well. Right stock, of course, is windshield wipers, and I love the M colors for all the stitching. On the left side, you can see all of your headlight controls, a little bit of ambient lighting with an air vent, and then a massive curved LCD display. On the right side, we just have the piano black with some silver trim for the dashboard. There is an aluminum looking color and carbon fiber available for the M2. On the screen here, you can hit your home icon. You have all these large tiles, which are actually really easy to go through. You can easily see all the different things that will pop up. You have even more items, and of course, you can tap some of them and it'll go into a full screen. Back for the home icon, going into navigation, you got a nice full screen navigation, shortcuts on the left and right for different items you want to adjust. And then for climate controls, they're always going to be down here. So every time you do have to hit climate menu, there you can adjust your fan speed, zones, heated seats. However, regardless of what menu you're on, you can at least change your temperature. So it's an okay system. It does work fine. I would prefer to have fan speed in easy reach than having to do that. But nonetheless, that is what you get on modern BMWs. You can also control it using this rotary dial. We have some shortcuts as well. I can tap the home icon, bump it over, easily scroll, and click into different items. So cool design where you can use touchscreen or of course using the rotary dial. Now for reverse, pushing it left and forward, we got a nice size backup camera with all of your guidelines and then 360 parking sensors as well. You have some air vents underneath all that, your volume icon, track and hazards, and then opening this, you have two cup holders. You also have a 12 volt, a USB port, and then a little bit of storage. Wireless charging is available on the car as well. You have some just plastic material throughout the side, more of the piano black and silver. And then down here we have the parking sensors, start, stop. You have the setup icon as well. You can toggle this, easily get to all of your different drive modes, and this is everything that will be adjusted when you play with all those drive modes. You can also configure your M mode buttons there. We have an exhaust button as well. You can toggle this, turn on the sound, which is a cool touch, especially for a car that sounds like this. We have the electronic park and brake, traction control as well, and then some M color stitching on the shift boot for that 6-speed manual. Has a nice feel to it with the leather. It is a little rubbery and kind of a long throw going into the gears, but nonetheless, I love seeing a manual in a modern car, and it is a fun stick shift to use. We have some contrast stitching, a little bit of padding, and then a nice size glove box in the center, and then your glove box on the right side. Pretty good bucket, as you would expect. One last look at the interior. It is a cool place to be. I like it overall. I think it feels like a nice modern premium sports car. Great design on the seats. And then up on top, we have a massive sunshade for the sunroof as well, which is a cool thing to see. And then you have all of your dome lights and then a thin mirror with garage door buttons underneath. Moving on to the rear seat space, there's going to be a handle on the sides of these seats. You can just pull that forward and it's going to automatically slide forward to give you more access. Back here, this can seat 2 additional people. You're gonna see all the same blue stitching to it. Seatbelts also have the M colors. And then there is a little bit of storage right in the center. You have air vents down below. No storage on the back sides, but then you do have a nice armrest with that same contour in the front doors with blue stitching, and the headrest can even fold down. Now right in the center, you are able to pull this down. Not really an armrest, however, you can use it as one. It does give you a little bit extra space into that trunk area. So sitting in the back seat of the BMW M2. So if I go ahead and pull the seat back, it's gonna automatically slide back to the position I had it. I'm 5'11", so sitting back here, you really need to straddle the seat a little bit to fit comfortably. My knees don't really fit behind it unless I shove my head into the ceiling. So if you straddle it a little bit, it's fine back here. It's doable, you know, if you have to put 2 grown adults, not the worst thing in the world. So I like the fact that this is a practical 2-doored coupe However, you know, the back seats are a little sacrificing, but at least they're there, and you still have a lot of glass in here to make them feel open enough, and then a decent amount of amenities. So not bad for what it is, at least. Moving on to the trunk space, there's a button underneath the BMW logo. Just manually lift it up. You have a pretty good amount of storage space in here, so it is nice and squared off. The load floor is pretty low as well, so you can fit larger items. Got a cubby on the right and left side, and then from back here there's a handle. You can just go ahead and pull these, and then after manually pulling down those seats, you have a lot more storage area. They're gonna fold down nice and flat with a large opening into the trunk. So once again, for being a two-doored coupe car, the M2 is still a pretty practical, useful daily. So setting off now, in the M2, everything in Sport Plus, this car is a lot of fun to drive, especially with the 6-speed manual. To me, it just adds that level of engagement that I like in cars. The manual is really good. I wouldn't say it's the best out there. It's a little on the rubbery side feeling, kind of like your typical BMW. But nonetheless, it's fun to roll through the gears. It's an easy, forgiving manual as well, to where this, honestly, I wouldn't have any issues daily driving this with the stick shift. Of course, the 8-speed, if you want a little bit snappier gear changes, is also fun. So if I tone it back down, everything efficient, instantly the car settles down. The suspension, super soft. The steering is just very relaxed as well. It's quiet in here, really good visibility all around. Nothing crazy looking over your left shoulder. Same with your right, especially with the headrest down, that really helps out. But this is a nice, normal to drive BMW, honestly. It's a great place to be. The seats are really comfortable, especially with all of the adjustments you can get to them. So really nothing bad about just normal driving. You also have good armrests to where you can just kind of lounge out, relax, and enjoy driving in this M2. Now with that said, I love one press of a button, everything is in Sport Plus. Now in this drive mode, the car doesn't get too backbraking. I know some people always ask that with any M Sport car or any true M car. I don't find this backbraking. Now that we're in everything Sport Plus, the steering's definitely heavier. Still got the rev matching to make the manual honestly very easy. And then hitting some of these construction zone bumps. You can tell the car is stiffer, but it's perfectly fine. So it's a very useful car, very well-rounded. There are some good sounds to it. You can tell some of them are kind of fake speaker sounds, but nonetheless, you know, this car starts to have some excitement once you pop it into the correct drive mode. The brakes are also really good working when you just tap them slightly. And we'll wait for the slow truck to get out of the way and then have some fun on the turns. But your overall normal driving dynamics are what you would expect. Using the interior is pretty good. Again, I really wish I didn't always have to tap that to go to my fan speed. That should be down here with temperature. I think that would make it a lot better, a lot more user-friendly. But nonetheless, it's an easy car to use and just kind of mess with. I really like how big all these are, to where you don't have to really look at them much when you are driving. So it's a cool touch for sure. Great looking dashboard with everything at that same angle. You can see everything moving. And then as we start to get on the fun roads, this car as a sports car comes alive. While it does weigh about as much as the BMW M4, which kind of weird that they place these cars almost at the exact same level, just different price point, this car certainly comes alive. So in second gear, there's a little lag, but once you hit 4,000, I mean, this engine just starts pulling. And even for the weight, it's a lot heavier than the old one. It takes turns. It is so planted and so stable. The steering is incredibly direct. I mean, you literally pilot this car. Everything you do in this drive mode now, the car is going to give you the feedback and do what you want. It is fun to go through the gears too. I just like the performance aspect in the feedback. It feels like a car you're able to control. It's not really doing things for you. Man, even just slowly like ripping through some turns, the performance is there. And if I go right into efficient, comfort, everything, it relaxes enough to where this is just a nice normal car, no big deal. One touch of a button once again, downshift a little bit, and we are back into a performance car. So my honest thoughts. I like the M2s a lot. They handle really well, even though they're heavier. They don't feel like that. S58 has plenty of power to get you out of those turns. The steering feel is really direct. It just feels so planted and solid. When you take those turns, the car does everything that you ask it to do, especially these tires are my favorite tires on a road car. There is just so much to offer with this car. From a driving standpoint, I don't think there's really anything you're gonna hate. Now, I've driven the previous generation M2, and you can tell the weight difference. I mean, that car definitely feels a little bit lighter on its toes. But this car just has so much beef to the stability and the power to where I personally don't really notice the craziest difference. Now, of course, I'm not an owner of either of these cars, so if you own the previous generation M2, you might hop into this and it just might feel a little too bulky for your taste. However, even me coming from my Toyota Supra, which probably weighs about the same as the previous gen M2, much lighter than this, more direct manual transmission, I hop into both of them and kind of like them equally. I like the extra power in this, the extra refinements, and the practicality. I certainly like the handling and the manual better in the Supra, but this car gives you that blend of being a normal car. You know, we're back in a normal mode. This is a fine daily, especially if you do buy this in the automatic. Not even something to sweat at for being used every single day. The manual is forgiving enough though, so I can kind of forgive this car for not being as direct as the Supra stick shift, to where this is easier to drive, honestly, and a little bit better for if you're truly using this as your only car. Only real complaints, like I said, just the climate screen. You end up getting used to it, but I love hopping in a car and just cranking up the fan if it's hot out, or cranking up the heat if it's cold out. North Carolina is bipolar every day. It can be something different. But other than that, though, the driving dynamic is really nice. I just like sitting in it. It's a good place to be. There's a good amount of weight and feedback to the clutch as well. And the steering is my favorite thing. I really like cars that steer well and give me the feedback as a driver, to where when I want to aim it in a certain direction, the car does exactly what I want to do, and I get that in this car. You go around the turns, you just point where you want to go, and the car follows perfectly. There's nothing weird about it. Being rear-wheel drive, the traction control gives you a good amount of basically a safety net to where you're not going to go crazy, but you can also turn it off, have some more fun, and really play with the rear end of the car. So to me, as a sports car, it's the perfect, well-rounded coupe. It's got kind of everything, not really too expensive. This one is actually a basic car. The paint's the only thing that is an optional extra that costs something. So for 65 grand, honestly, I don't think there's anything better for the money if you want a manual. The biggest competitors would be a manual V8 Mustang, which is a great car. I don't hate that car at all. However, I like the German refinements better. The twin turbo motor I like better, because these cars tuned, you can make 700 horsepower without even thinking. So to me, this is a better value. It's a more refined car. I love the turbo power. There's just so much more possibilities with it. And it's got the true refinements, which I like in a car a lot. Back to construction. We're in normal mode, and it's no big deal driving a luxury car now through construction. When we get out of it, pressing one button, we're back into a sports car. I don't really have true complaints. Yes, it could be lighter weight. I don't know where they added the weight to it. It doesn't make sense that this is the same as a BMW M4. I don't understand that. On top of that, climate controls, yes, I get it, everybody. I hear the comments, I see them. I agree with you guys on that. Other than those two things, though, this kind of gives you a well-rounded car. And personally, I'll probably end up buying one when I need more space that my Supra won't offer. So I do like the car. I'll end up being a buyer too, and just can't really complain. Not everyone likes the looks. I like the looks. I think it looks cool. It looks different. BMWs all have looked the same for so long. I kind of like the little edgy design to it. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the 2024 BMW M2 with the manual. That's the way to go for me, is for sure. If you guys enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for plenty more content. Big shout out once again to Hendrick BMW Northlake for providing this M2 for today's video. Take a look at their website. They have 4 of these right now. They just got in. So check them out, link below. I'll see you guys in the next video.